Be sure to subscribe to the Healthcare Security Cast so you don't miss a single episode. We're on multiple platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Audible, just about anywhere where you can listen to a podcast. For links to all of these sites, for links to join the Healthcare Security Cast community groups on LinkedIn and Facebook, or if you're interested in being a guest or being a sponsor, you can find all of this through one link. Check out our link tree at linktree/Brian Hamilton. That's linktr.ee/Brian, B-R-I-N-E, Hamilton. Again, that's linktr.ee/Brian Hamilton. And before we get into the show, I just want to thank our sponsors, 3D Network Technology. Reliability is our core value. Visit 3dnetworktechnology.com. And Genetech, delivering security strategies for healthcare. Visit Genetech, that's GENETEC.com. And also the Change Execution Group and 360 Life Transformations. Visit 360lifetransformations.com.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast, the podcast dedicated to healthcare security, safety, and emergency management. If you are involved with a healthcare security program or desire to be, this podcast is for you. Join the conversation as we discuss the issues that matter to healthcare security professionals while leveraging the expertise of healthcare security thought leaders and experts in personal development. And now, here's your host, Brian Hamilton.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast for Thursday, February the 4th. I'm joined today by Eloïse Gagnon. Eloïse, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. No, glad to have you on. And I guess what I always like to do is learn a little bit more about our guest. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, who is Eloïse Gagnon?
Now that's a profound question. To give you a bit of my background, I was an international corporate lawyer for over 15 years. And somewhere along the way, I realized that I wasn't serving people as well as I could. And I always had that nagging question of, how can I serve people better? How can I make a greater contribution? And I looked at all the knowledge I had gathered working like in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Jordan. And I've worked with leaders for those 15 years, like business leaders and thought leaders. And I said, I need to package all that knowledge, all that experience, and bring it to the masses, bring it to people that may not have access to those, thought leaders and those business leaders, and show them how it's done to be successful, how it is to be a leader. Like, what do you need to be a leader? And so I transitioned from being a lawyer to being a leadership coach. And that's what I do now.
Excellent. Now, with regards to the coaching work that you do now, It seems like it was really, if I'm listening to what you're saying, it seems like it was really purpose driven because you were successful in your past business ventures. So I guess your desire to serve people is kind of what led you into this field.
Yeah. So people ask me, like, why would you walk away from, I built a 7 and then an 8-figure business. Why would you walk away from that and start a whole new business from scratch being a coach? And it comes down to my true beliefs. And I believe in God. And I have this notion that came to me when I was 8 years old that a life of purpose is a life of contribution, right? So we step into our purpose, we step into what we should be doing when we start contributing to the lives of others, when we start making others' lives better. And when I looked at what I was doing, I said, okay, well, I'm making a lot of money and I'm doing really good in what I'm doing, but am I really helping anyone? Am I really making anyone's life better by filling out contracts and coming up with investment strategies and fiscal strategies? And I came up with the answer and I said, no. And I can tell you exactly when that happened. I was actually in Switzerland working on a deal. And I said, no, I'm not helping anyone. But at the time I didn't know what a coach was. And it's a client of mine that said, Eloïse, do you ever think about being a coach? And at the time I was training for triathlons. And in my head, I'm going, like a swim coach, like a personal training coach. I didn't know that there was such a thing as like business coaches and leadership coaches. And I'm like, no, I never thought of that. And I'm thinking, I don't want to teach people how to swim or, you know, how to bicycle or anything. And so I looked deeper into it because then my curiosity was piqued, right? And I went to London and I studied how to become a coach. I got certified, and what I really wanted to do was leadership. And when I look at leadership, to me, it really boils down to personal leadership, because how you want others to act in your organization, in your family, in your team is a direct reflection of who you are. So, what I have noticed in all the leaders that I worked with, and now the work that I do, is that you can't ask somebody to do something that you are not first doing yourself. For example, you can't ask your team members to be punctual if you're always late, right? There's a discrepancy there. There's a lack of integrity. And then people are going to lose trust in you because they're going to be like, what is it? He's telling us that we have to be on time when he's always late? What's this about? Right? So that you lose trust because you're acting out of, completely out of integrity. And so I realized that if I wanted to help people become the best leaders they could be, and that could be a leader as a father, a leader as a partner, a leader in your team, in your business, in your organization, if I wanted to help people really be the leaders they wanted to be, I needed to work with them on that personal level. And that's what has been my passion for years now, is helping people enable that greatness that is within them so they can get other people to be just as great. It's that ripple effect I'm looking for, right? So if I come on here today and I coach you on something, or I share information with you, and that helps you level up, and then your listeners, it helps them level up, and it helps their team level up, and then it helps their people in their family level up, then that's a life of contribution, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to touch on a little bit there, because you
Yeah.
just made me think of a conversation that actually we played a week ago with Kristen Harcourt talking about leadership. You talk about helping somebody to be better in their career and, even in their relationships.
Yeah.
And kind of the conversation that we had, we kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of the principles can apply both to leadership just within your career and in your personal life. So have you had any of your clients come back to you and say something like, the training that I'm getting has really helped me in my career, and my family life is better too?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I do with my clients is that when we look at the vision that they have for their company, like we work on their vision and their mission and their values, I ask them to do the same thing with their personal life. And they look at me and they're like, what? No, like I want to do this for my team. And I always bring them back to, if you're religious, I bring you back to St. Thomas of Assisi, where he said, you are perfectly who you are in all situations. So you can't be a phenomenal leader in your team and be crappy in your social life and your personal life. Like, it doesn't work. You're the same person. Gandhi said, we are one of the same at all times. So if you are a great leader with your team, if you're compassionate and inclusive and you're an attentive listener, you're not going to go home and not listen to your kids or your wife or your husband or your friends, right? You don't
Right.
shut it off like a switch. And so I always get my clients to work on both, because I want them to be complete leaders, overall leaders. I want them to be leaders in their community. I want them to be leaders in their family. I want them to be leaders in their business. Because how much respect do you have for your boss or your supervisor when you find out that, you know what, every Tuesday night, he's coaching Little League? Every Sunday morning, he's not at the office. He's out with having a barbecue with like family or with his church or his community, helping like the homeless. Your level of trust goes way up. Why? It's the same person you see at the office, but all of a sudden you're seeing him as somebody that's compassionate, that's caring, right? That's how we see leaders. So you know that if he has that compassion towards others, he's going to have that compassion towards you. Right?
Absolutely. No, that's good stuff. Now, today we're going to be talking mainly about goal setting, and
Yes.
we're a month into 2021, and
Yeah.
most of the studies that we look at would indicate that people have already given up on their goals for this year. Many a few weeks ago, some on January 2nd. Maybe we already broke our resolutions or goals, if you will. Can you share your insights on why that may be, and why value-based goal setting, which is something you talk about, tends to be more successful?
Yeah. So To your point, there's 80% of people, research says 80% of people actually either don't follow through or give up on their New Year's resolution. And here's why I'm so thrilled this is airing on February 4th, because I don't believe a number should dictate your resolution. It is not because it's January 1st that your whole life is suddenly going to change and that all of a sudden you go from 0 to 100. So I want people to know that if you haven't started your resolutions or you've given up on your resolutions or whatever you are, perfect. That's great. You know what? Start them on February 8th. Start them on February 10th. Pick a day, a Wednesday, a Sunday. It doesn't have to be a Monday and it doesn't have to be a first. Because what you're doing when you're setting resolutions for January 1st is that you're giving so much weight and so much power on a number. And you're setting goals that may not even be relevant to what you truly want. And oftentimes I'll see people like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, why? I want to look good. Really? Well, you don't think you look good? Oh, I think I look good, but that's vague. That person is going to quit at the first hurdle that comes. Right. There's no depth. But if you tell me I want to lose 20 pounds, why? I want to feel healthier. Why? Because I'm winded when I play with my kids. So why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Well, I want to, play with my soccer with my kids. Why do you want to play soccer with your kids? Well, it's important to him. Why is it important to him? Well, it's also important to me. Why is it important to you? I want to be a good father. That's, I really want to be that good father. Now we have an anchor. Now we have a value. Because next time you're sitting with your buddies at a poker table and there's like chicken wings and pizza and Coke and fries, your thought is going to be, I'm going to say no, not because I can't have it. I can have it, but I want to be a good father because that's really important to me. Now you're able to step in and reach your goals because every hurdle that comes your way, you have an anchor to it. So when people say, I want to work on a skill, I want to work on my communication, I want to work on being a better team leader, I want people to trust me, right? So then you look and you're like, why do you want people to trust you? Why is that important to you? And then when we get to the bottom of the reason of the why you want that goal, why do you want to achieve it? And 99% of the time it's linked to an emotion. What do you want to feel? I want to feel proud of myself. I want to feel like I'm achieving something. I want to feel like I'm contributing to the life of others. All right. So that when you face a situation where you're in a team meeting and people are disagreeing and it's not going the way you want, instead of getting all agitated and angry and throwing in the towel and going back to, dictating your way, which is what you're trying to get away from, because you're like, no, I'm going to be better at communicating. You're going to go back and say, okay, why is this important to me? Oh yeah. This is the reason why trust matters to me. This is the reason why I want to be a better communicator. So you're able to take a step back, anchor yourself back into your values, realize why this is important to you. And then you start the process of creatively thinking about, okay, how can I go about this another way? Right? So that's why when you set your goals, I always tell people, don't just say, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to improve my communication skills, or I want to read 12 books in 12 months, or whatever your goal is. Why do you want to read 12 books in 12 months? I want to get knowledge. No, that's useless. Knowledge is useless. If knowledge was power, we wouldn't have the crisis that we have now because knowledge is available to everyone. It's how you implement the knowledge that matters. So what is it that you want to get from those books? I want to change my life. How do you want to change your life? I want better habits. Why do you want better habits? Because I think that, my level or what I can achieve in my life is so much more than what I'm achieving right now. Why is that important to you? Because I want to show a good example to my community, to my children, to my teams. You want to be a good example to others. Now we're getting somewhere. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
When you set your goals, it's always set your goal, whatever it is. And I do like in columns, right? So you have your first column, which is, this is my goal. Perfect. Now go to the bottom of why it's your goal. And it has to be at least like 5 whys before you get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
It's go all the way to the bottom to the emotion you want to feel when you've reached that goal. And then set yourself a timeline. So let's say you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to lose those 25 pounds in 90 days. Perfect, right? Those 90 days. And then right after that, my other column is, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do every single day to reach that goal? And I'm a huge fan of small steps. Like, I believe if you want to do quantum leaps, it's done through small, tiny little steps you do every single day, right? So if you want to lose those 90 pounds, what's the first thing you could do? I'm going to go to the gym. Okay, well, do you have the right running shoes? Like, do you have a good pair of running shoes? Do you have a good gym you could go to? Do you have good like home workouts that you could do at home? Do you know the time that you're going to work out at? Do you know the type of food you're going to eat? Like, these are all things that I want you to start writing down. It's like how you're going to do it, because life is going to throw you curveballs every single day. But if you know what you can do about it, let's say for some reason, electricity's out. You can't get your workout because your computer's dead and your phone's dead and no iPads are working, right? Nothing's working. But so you can look at it and say like, oh, okay, well, I'm not supposed to work out today. This is a sign I'm not supposed to work out. But if you go back to your why, which is you want to be a good example to others, or you want to have the energy to be with your kids, then you're going to strap on your boots and your jacket and you're going to go for a walk outside, because there's a deeper reason why you want to reach that goal. So you're not going to let the obstacles stand in your way. And you already have, your jacket, and you already know that it's 7:00 in the morning and that's your workout time. So you're just going to go work out. And that's the end of it. And I think people give up because their goals are not related to what they truly want. And oftentimes we have goals for others. And that's something that I want your listeners to be very aware of, is set a goal for yourself. Like, if I tell you, and I'm not telling you this, but if I tell you, oh, you know what? I think you're a little chunky. I think you'd look good with about like 15 pounds less, right? And I'm saying this out of love. I'm like, I just think you'd look better without, those 15 pounds. Or maybe, I think you should really, really work on your empathy. You should really work on being a more compassionate person so you can show up as a better leader. If I tell you this, but you don't feel it and you don't see it and you write it down as a goal, you're not going to have a deep enough reason why. Right? So make sure that the goals you set for yourself are goals that you actually truly want to achieve. Oftentimes we set goals because we want to please other people. We want to achieve goals because we feel they're imposed by others. And when we do something that feels imposed, there's no emotion linked to it. There's no value linked to it. And that is something that's very dangerous. And it's one of the main reasons why people give up. They set goals for others. Don't set the goal for others. Set your result for others. Set your emotion to have that ripple effect, but the goal has to come from you.
Excellent. Now, you talk about values. Obviously, it's value-based goal setting is what we're kind of talking about here now.
Yeah.
You mentioned mission and vision earlier. How do the three kind of intertwine? Do your values feed your vision and your mission, or what's kind of your approach to that?
So to me, values there's nothing more important. Values dictate your life. They dictate your life. And if you look at, I always tell people, go back to your childhood before like society got to you, right? Go back to childhood and see what was really important to you. A lot of people will say like community or empathy, or I was a good listener back then, or people always came to me because I was a problem solver, or I was a strategic thinker. I didn't know what strategic thinking was back then, but I realized that I really enjoyed solving puzzles, solving problems. When we go back to our childhood, we see what's important to you. It was important that your friends trust you. Like you wanted your friends to. So those are our core values. And when we live according to our core values, that's when we say we live aligned, right? We live on purpose. So your values are going to dictate your vision. And I'll give you an example, because you can't have, let's say, I'll just take myself for example, empathy and compassion are two of my strongest values. They are at the core of who I am. Okay. If those are my values, I can't have a vision that I'm going to take over the world in a cutthroat way and stab anybody in the back that gets in my way just because I want to reach a result, right? That doesn't work. It's not who I am. I'm always going to feel the frustration, the pull, the disconnection between my vision of what I want and who I truly am. And that's what oftentimes you'll find people in their 50s and their 60s, they're like, what's all this for? Why am I doing this? What's my purpose? Why is this happening? And then they're realizing that what they're doing is not a reflection of who they are. So that's why I say, if you have a vision for yourself and for your life, the first thing, so your vision is your long term, right? Vision is what you want, what you aspire to accomplish. It has to be based on your values and who you are. So you have to start with your values. Like I said, go back to your childhood. Step one, go back to your childhood, look at the values that you have. And then base your vision, what you want for yourself, what you aspire to be, on those values, right? Then your second thing, your mission is, how are you going to accomplish that? Your mission is, well, how am I going to have a ripple effect? How am I going to enable greatness? How am I going to allow people to feel better about themselves? You know, we have quite a few cops in my family, and to them, it's to serve and to protect, because that's who they fundamentally are. They want to protect others. They grew up, they were protecting their brothers, their sisters. They were, they have that in them. It's their value. So they became police officers because that protection is important to them, right? So, and then it's like, okay, well, you want to protect people. Perfect. How are you going to do it? Well, I'm going to be a cop. That's your mission, right? So that's how you do it. Your vision is your long-term aspirations. Your mission is how you're going to do that. And your values plays into exactly how that vision turns out. So you have that alignment. So you're not in disconnect.
Excellent. Now, obviously, your approach is a little bit different than conventional goal setting ideas that are commonly shared. So yeah. I want to get your thoughts a little bit more on goal setting. One thing that we hear often is it's important to write your goals down, and it's something I do. What are your thoughts on just, I guess, goal setting overall? And I'll ask specifically just because I'm curious to get your insights about writing down your goals.
Yeah. So I love goal setting. Like, I don't want people to say like, oh, she's not into goal setting. I love goal setting. And I think that there's a big difference between a dreamer and a doer. And a dreamer is literally somebody that's just going to fantasize about what their life could be, but is never going to take the steps to make it happen. And I'm a hardcore realist. I'm a doer. And so every day I write down my goals. Every day I write down my goals. I don't just write them down on a date and say, okay, 90 days from today, this is what's going to happen. This is the result I'm going to get. This is what I do every single day. And I really encourage your audience to do the same. Every day I take 5 minutes. I write the date on top. I write, what is my goal? I write my goal down. Why is this my goal? I write down why that is my goal, right? I go back to my reasons. And then the third thing I ask myself, okay, what am I going to do today that's going to take me one step closer to that goal? What's the one thing? Just one thing I'm going to do today. Remember, small steps. What's the one thing I'm going to do today that's going to get me closer to my goal? Maybe it's going to be to reach out to my team and be like, hey guys, the situation, the pandemic that's going on, I just want to be open with you and telling you that I don't feel well right now. So if you guys don't feel well, I want to know that you can talk to me about it, because my goal was communication. My goal was to be a better listener, right? So that one thing I could do that day is to reach out to my people and see how they were feeling. So every single day I remind myself in writing, like old school writing, right? Paper journal, not on my phone, paper journal. What is my goal? Why is it my goal? And what is it that I can do? What's the one thing I can do today that gets me closer? Because if you set a goal on January 1st and you write it down, right? New Year's resolutions, you write them all down, and then you don't look at it every day, how are you reminding yourself? You're relying on your motivation, on your willpower, on your memory. These are all things that are fleeting. These are all things that can very easily fall, and you're not a worse person because of it. I always say, you have to give yourself all the chances in the world to succeed. Put everything in your favor, right? I always say, like, I'm religious, so there's a saying in the Bible that says, do everything you can and then God will help you, right? But the first steps belong to you. So I'm going to do everything I can every single day to make that result happen for myself. So yes, 100%. Write down your goal, write it every day, write your reasons every day, and what you can do about it every single day too.
Awesome. Now, is there anything else that we should touch on a little bit as far as Just actually the process of goal setting. So we talked about just working from your values,
Yeah.
writing it down, obviously. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that's important to make sure that we follow through?
I think that another thing that's really important is people set a lot of big goals, right? And I'm all for big, scary goals. But don't, a lot of times people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right? So when you set a goal, never set more than 2 goals for yourself. People are like, well, I have 7 categories in my life and I'm going to set, one goal for each. So I have like 7 goals. Wow, that's a lot of goals. That's a lot of goals. I always tell people, listen, if you have a goal, just focus on 1 or 2 goals at first and give them all your love, all your attention, all your focus, all your energy, all your motivation. Give them everything you've got. And then go after your other goals. Because imagine if Michael Jordan tried to be a basketball player and a baseball player and a football player and a golfer. And if he went after those all at the same time, do you think we would have had the Michael Jordan that we had?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, right? He would have diluted his focus. He would have diluted his energy. What he said is he took 1 goal, he took basketball, and he's like, I'm going to be the best at it. He also happens to be a great baseball player and a great golfer, but he gave his energy and his love and his focus to one thing. So when it comes to goal setting, don't dilute yourself. Don't dilute yourself. Pick one thing that matters the most to you, that will have the greatest impact in your life, that is of utmost importance, and give it all you got. And after those if it's a 90-day goal, after those 90 days, perfect. You reach your goal, awesome. Move on to your next goal, and then your next goal, and then your next goal. Because one of the things that you're going to have at that moment is you're going to have built trust within yourself that you can achieve goals. Because one of the worst things that we can do is chip away at the trust that we have within ourselves that we can accomplish things. Because when you set something for yourself and you don't accomplish it, what you're telling yourself is, I'm not good enough to accomplish this. And you get into a vicious cycle of not accomplishing things and of not succeeding and of not reaching goals. And that is so dangerous and is so bad for your self-esteem and your self-worth. So give everything you got to 1 or 2 priorities. I always say 1, but I know people are like, no, I have like my health and my this. And I understand. Don't go more than 2. Set 2 goals, give them all you got, and then reassess. So when you write your goals, if you have 7, then pick 1 or 2 out of the list, circle them and say, I'm going to give it all. And then the other ones, I'm going to get to them right after. Right? So
Right.
I think that's a very, very important notion when we think about goal setting. Don't overwhelm yourself unnecessarily. Don't dilute yourself unnecessarily.
Awesome. Now, another thing that's come up a lot during our conversation is habits. And obviously the habits we form are a big part of our outcomes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on developing habits in relation to our goals?
That's a really good question. So before developing any habits, I always say, do a self-assessment. What are your current habits? Before you try to bring anything new in, what are your current habits? So I tell people, do a time journal for about a week, 7 days. It has to include a weekend. What is it that you do? Write down your habits. What is it that you do in the morning, in the evening, in your breaks? What's your focus like? What's your attention like? What habits do you currently have? And then once you've looked at your time, then assess what habits do you have that serve you right now and that could help you get closer to your goal, and what habits are really sabotaging your efforts, right? Because if you don't know where you stand, you're not going to be able to move forward. You can't, trying to bring on new habits or develop new habits, kind of like putting a Band-Aid on something. As soon as you wash your hands, the Band-Aid kind of comes off, right?
Right.
So take assessment, look at where you are right now, look at where things stand right now. The habits that serve you, that's amazing. Keep them. The habits that don't serve you, then the next question is always, okay, these habits don't serve me. What habit would serve me? What is it that I could do on a repetitive basis every single day that would get me closer to my goal? Like I told you before, write down your goals, take 5 minutes every single day. That's a habit, right? It's a habit of sitting down, taking a pen and paper and writing it down. So if you look at it and you're like, okay, I don't have this habit right now, and I really think that if I do this, it's going to help me keep my focus and my motivation for my goal right in front of me. Like, am I even going to plaster that like on my mirror, in my car? Perfect. What do you have to do then? Oh, well, I think I have to wake up 5 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier because my kids wake up and I have things to do. And then the morning rush starts. Perfect. So now you want to implement that habit. The thing is, you have a reason that's backing up that habit. That reason is you want to have your goals. And you know you want to have your goals because you already have your reasons for your goals, right?
Right.
Our habits and our goals work the same way. There has to be a reason behind them. So now all of a sudden, you're going to be able to wake up 5 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier because there's a reason for you to do it. And I often say, I talk to a lot of highly successful people and they tell me like, I don't even have an alarm clock. I wake up at 4:30 on my own. And I was always like, but why? Like I always had an alarm clock. Like, why don't you have an alarm clock? They're like, because I'm so excited to get on with my day because I know the impact that I can have throughout my day. And so I'm excited to get up. How many people are actually excited to get up? They don't have a reason to be excited. So have a reason to be excited to want to do something. That's when habits are formed. So whatever it is that you set your goal to be and the reasons for your goal, look at the habits that are going to allow you to get those results and look at the reasons why those habits are important. It always comes back down to your values, to what you believe and what you want. It always boils down. And one of the reasons people are having such a hard time with that is because people are not honest with what they want, or they don't know what they truly want. Like I have this conversation with my son. He's 4 years old. I'm like, what do you want for dinner? And he's like, well, I don't want pasta. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't tell me what you want. Like, okay, you don't want pasta. That doesn't tell me if you want chicken or fish or, I'm nowhere closer to making a meal you're going to be happy with. I can make chicken and what you actually wanted was fish. And a lot of people think that way. They know what they don't want. And they're like, I don't want this in my life. And I don't want this in my boss. And I don't want this in my teammates. Perfect. What is it that you do want? And once you're very clear on what you do want, and you're really clear on why you want those things, then you can develop the habits, the goals, and most importantly, get the results that you want, right? Because at the end of the day, all of this, all these habits and the goal setting is for what? It's for the result. We do all of this to get that result. So work backwards. Work backwards. It's very, very important to understand your emotion and your feeling behind your habits and your goals. That's going to be your anchor, right? That's what's going to anchor you when the going gets tough, when you're being challenged. If you rely on motivation or inspiration to hold you steady when you're being challenged, it's not enough. It's not anchored deep enough. But if you have a deep enough reason to have that habit, let's say you only got 4 hours of sleep for whatever reason, you're working on a project or something happened, you only had 4 hours of sleep. It's very easy the next morning to say, oh, I'm not waking up to write my goals today. Like I only got, like, Lord have mercy, I only got 4 hours of sleep. But if you know why you're doing it, then you're like, you know what? 10 minutes may not make the difference. 10 extra minutes of sleep is not going to make the difference, but taking 10 minutes to write my goals, that's going to make a difference today. Because regardless, the day is going to go on. That day is going to happen. Whether you slept 4 hours or 4 hours and 10 minutes, your day is going to happen. So the choices that you make, this is where like accountability is so important when we talk about leadership, is we have to be accountable for the choices that we make and the decisions that we take. If you made that decision to wake up 10 minutes early, then you have to do everything in your power to respect that decision. Because I know it's going to go a little far. People are going to be like, what? When you respect your decisions, it tells other people, hey, you can respect your decisions too. If I can wake up 10 minutes early because I want to reach my goals, that means you can wake up 10 minutes early to reach your goals. Why is it that we admire people that accomplish big things? It's because they let us know that we can do that too. We can be that too. They're like, hey, I did this, so you can do this too. I'm nobody special. You can do it too. We admire that. We aspire to that. And when you talk about leadership, when you're talking about being in a position of being a leader, that's the example you want to set to other people. That no matter what, you respect your decisions. That no matter what, you follow through on your decisions. That no matter what, when you make a choice, you follow through with it. And people see that. Because like we said, you are the same person in every situation, right? So you may not think that waking up early, 10 minutes early, is going to have a huge impact on how you lead your team, but it does. Because how you treat yourself and how you treat the decisions that you take for yourself will have a huge impact on the decisions you make with your team and for your team. Because if you can respect your decisions that you make for yourself, then you can respect the decisions that you make for your team and with your team.
Awesome. Now you started off that point with some of the successful people that you know who wake
Yeah.
up without an alarm clock.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of our conversation has been stuff that you've learned just by being around people who are very successful
Yeah.
as well. What are some of the things that we could look for? So some people obviously are going to listen to this and set some goals.
Yeah.
Now, as far as even just small things like even your morning routine or just things that you do daily,
Yeah.
what are some of the recurring things that you see with the really successful people that you've worked with?
So one of the things, and it's such a big buzzword, and I actually really dislike the word mindset because it's such a big buzzword. You know, people have different interpretations of it, but one of the common denominators in all the highly successful people that I've worked with, had the privilege to meet, was truly the way they set their mind up at the beginning of the day. They started their day very focused on what they wanted to accomplish that day. And they always started with everything that was of most importance. Oftentimes we get caught up with emergencies, right? We're trying to put out fires, you know, a bit everywhere. But when you spend all your day putting out fires, you're not accomplishing anything. You're not focusing on what's actually important. So when we're talking about goal setting and we're talking about highly successful people, they always do what's most important first. So you have a bunch of phone calls to return, you've got emails to respond to, you know, people are pulling for your attention left, right, and center. Those are all urgent things, but what's important? Go back to what's important, because what's important is what's going to move the needle forward. And that's something that I was amazed. And I remember sitting down with somebody in Dubai who had built a multi-million dollar business. And literally there was nothing on his desk. Nothing. There was just like a little thing of paper for him to take down notes. And I'm like, what's all your paper? He's like, no. He's like, when I do something, I do one thing at a time. And it's always the most important thing first. Everything else is put away. I tackle everything that's important first, and then I have time for all the rest. And that allowed him to be so efficient, so focused, that what he could accomplish in a small time frame was remarkable. It's when when you try to say write something, or you're writing an email, but you're answering texts, or you're picking up the phone, or somebody's coming into your office and distracting you. How long does it take you to write that email? Right? It's going to take you like 15, 20 minutes to write an email that could have probably taken you 3 minutes. Right? But if you had focus on what's important, which is to write that email right now, you would have been done in 3 minutes, and then you can move on to other things. It's people often want to do everything all at once. And one of the common habits of the highly successful is their ability to focus. They pick one thing, they go at it, it's done, perfect, move on. And they always go back to what's important. What's going to move the needle forward today? What's going to help me grow my business, become a better leader, motivate my team, inspire the people around me? What's important right now? And they focus on that first. And that also allows them to take better decisions, right? Because if you focus on what's important, maybe what's important right now is for you to go talk to your team because they're feeling unmotivated. So it's not to go sit in a meeting, and it's not to go talk to, your supervisor or whatever. Right now, what's important is for you to attend to the needs of your team. That's what's important. You'll talk to your supervisor after. You'll go in a meeting after. Right now, the most efficient way you can spend those first 15 minutes is to go out and reach to those people. So that is, I think, a very prevalent common denominator of the ability to focus, the ability to put what's important first. And one other thing is, those that have succeeded at a very high level are very aligned with their values. They know who they are, they know what they're capable of, and they don't let anything get in their way. They don't let petty excuses, It's not like, oh, I can't do this. They never think, oh, I can't do this. They're like, I don't know how to do this right now. So what do I need to learn to be able to do it? Who can I go see that can help me? What are the resources that are available to me? Who can I go talk to that's going to come and help me right now? They don't stay with the, I can't do this, or I don't know how to do this. They always go that step forward because they know they don't know everything, but that's not going to stop them. What's the next best thing? I don't know this. Perfect. I don't know this. All right, let me move forward. What can I do about it? What can I do about it? If you go back to our example of losing weight, let's say as a goal, because it's, I think it's the research said it's 95% of people on their New Year's resolution have that goal to lose weight. 95% of people. You're like, well, I don't know how to lose weight. Oh, I'm just going to stay the same. No, have that successful mentality. Be okay, I don't know how to lose weight. Perfect. I'm going to go online. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to reach out to a health coach. I'm going to get a workout program done for me. I'm going to get a nutrition plan done for me, something that's tailored to my needs. I don't know how to be a leader. I don't know how to be an efficient leader. I'm going to reach out to a leadership coach. I'm going to get a mentor. I'm going to get somebody that's been in my shoes before that can show me the ropes. Don't just stop at what you think you can and cannot do. Successful people don't let obstacles get in the way. They're just like, oh, it's a hurdle. How do I get over it or under it or around it? That's their only concern, is to move past it. And that's it. So what seems like, an unsurmountable mountain for some people, for successful people, they're just like, oh, what a cute little mountain. How am I going to get around it or over it? Or maybe I'm just going to train until I'm strong enough to get over the mountain. Right?
Right.
So it's that mindset that you have to have, that word again. It's that mindset that you have to have every morning to tell yourself, hey, you know what? No matter what happens today, I can overcome it. I can overcome it. Either I have it within me to overcome it. I have the resources available to me. I'm going to go search for it. But I don't want you to feel defeated at the first obstacle or the 10th obstacle. I don't want you to think that whatever challenge comes your way is a sign that you should give up. I want you to know that whatever obstacle or challenge is presented to you, you have what it takes to overcome it. Maybe you're going to have to take a different route. Maybe you're going to have to do things differently. Let's go back to our weight loss. What if you start working out and you pull a shoulder, like a ligament in your leg or in your shoulder, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know what? I can't work out, so I'm just not going to lose weight. No. Yes, you've hit a bump in the road. Yes, that's a challenge. Yes, that's an obstacle. What can you do about it? What can you do about it? If it's a shoulder injury, well, can you still walk? Perfect. Then how about you take up walking? If it's a leg injury, perfect. What are the exercises you can do while you're sitting down that's still going to get your blood pumping, that's still going to get your body moving? Is there something you can tweak in your nutrition that's also going to have an impact? Right? So I want you to look at the challenges and say, okay, this is a challenge that I have that's blocking me from reaching my goal the way that I intended to reach it. Perfect. What can I do about it? That should always be the question you ask. What can I do about it? How can I move forward? Never let it stop you. Never let it stop you.
Right, well, based on all that, I have a confession to make. We were emailing back and forth to just schedule today, and you had sent me an email. I read it. I started the response and I got sidetracked, and I ended up responding a day and a half later, but the email started off good morning. And before I sent it, I had to change it to hi. So it is definitely important to focus on one thing and just get that one thing done and before you move on to something else, because it wasn't a long email at all. So your example was like a perfect one for me.
Good stuff.
Now, we've covered a lot of different stuff. Is there anything that I haven't discussed that you would like to talk about at this point?
I'm trying to think. We did cover a lot of things. And I think what's important for people to know, and I've mentioned it a few times, is that you can literally achieve any goal you set your mind to. Any goal. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that. I want your listeners to know that. I want everybody to know that regardless of where you come from, the education that you got, the environment that you were raised in, your parents, no matter how you started off in life or the type of life that you've led so far, if that doesn't resonate with who you are and what you want, you have the ability to change. You have the ability to reach what you aspire to be because it is within you. And I want you to know that you can achieve that by just changing little things every single day. We always say Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to completely transform who you are within one day, or even maybe not even 90 days, or maybe a year. But I want you to have a long-term vision of what you want for yourself and how you can contribute to the lives of others. And start there. And then once you have your long-term vision, go back and say, okay, how can I show up for myself and others today? How can I be the best me today? How can I help others be the best them today? And that's how you change. That's how you reach your goals. That's how you go above and beyond what you think you are capable of. And I think that is so important. I think not enough people know, like truly know, how capable they are. How capable they are and how they can just go out there and literally reach any goal they set for themselves.
Absolutely. Now, with all the work that you're doing, what can we look forward to seeing from you in the future?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, my goal is really to impact as many people as I can. So I'm doing much more podcasts now. I also launched a course that's called Confidence Skills for Business. And it's literally, I should have said confidence skills for anyone, but it's really all the confidence skills you need to step up as a leader. So that's a course that I launched that's now available. So you'll see a lot more of me doing speaking engagements and bringing online training to make all this information available to anyone.
Awesome. Now, as we wrap up, do you have a special message for the Healthcare Security Cast community?
Oh, wow. Specifically to you, yeah. From what we talked about, your audience has a lot of big responsibilities. They have a lot of big responsibilities on their shoulders, and that could be overwhelming sometimes. When we deal with a lot of people and a job that isn't easy, know that it comes back to know whatever obstacle you're facing, take a step back, take a moment when things get hard, and ask yourself, okay, how is this helping me become a better person? How is this helping me dig deep down into who I am so that I can help others? Take that moment and kind of look at the situation from an outsider's perspective. And I tell this to people a lot right now. I'm like, don't be so hard on yourself. If things don't go well one day, that's okay. You're still a great human being. You're still a great human being, and you could start all over tomorrow.
Awesome. So everybody who's in this conversation with us, don't wait till January 1st, 2022. Yeah. Start setting your goals today. What are the best ways to connect with you?
I'm very big on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. And if you want all the free resources on my website, which is eloisegagnon.com, I publish a lot of free resources, and I'm very actionable, right? I don't only talk about concepts and theories. I want you to read a blog post, go back home and apply everything that I just taught you. And that's where you'll find all that information.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you very much for being on the show today, Eloïse. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to having you back on as well.
Thank you so much.
And this concludes another episode of the Healthcare Security Cast. And join us again next week as we discuss the process of starting a healthcare security program from scratch with Jeff Hogue. The Healthcare Security Cast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music and Audible, and many other platforms as well. Check out our Linktree on your computer or mobile device. And this can be found at linktree/Brian Hamilton. That's linktr.ee/Brian, BRINE, Hamilton. Again, that's linktr.ee/Brian Hamilton. Or if it's easier, send me a text at 647-372-2042. That's 647-372-2042. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have or share any links you may be looking for. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care and stay safe.